reason this picture of James O'Brien and Carol Vorderman is good is because it shows that the people that kind of come out of the global school of doing things, right? It's almost like they adopt a persona, of being an arse, basically. Everyone says, I hate that James O'Brien. He's so mean. He's very aggressive. He's like always hounding people like, oh, and then Carol is kind of like, yeah, I'm anti-Tory. And, that she kind of took on this persona that you also see with Marina Purkis and to another extent, Jonathan Pye, because I actually believe there's a comedy wing of what I call Shill HQ.
Breaking right now, Carol Vorderman has hit back at the campaigning independent journalist Charlotte Gill, who is exposing the reality about her hard left term, which The Guardian has celebrated as a later life renaissance that gives us just the kind of political hero we need. Well, I say, if this is a hero, then God help us.
With the great Professor John Curtis, I'm a fangirl of his, with Luke Trill, who has an organisation which looks into focus groups and studies different sections of society, if you like. And me, I was here talking about tactical voting, which Best for Britain will be putting together their support.
Charlotte, who has been doing incredible work on this on her Substack, had earlier posted the links I've found are between Alistair Campbell, Tony Blair, Sadiq Khan, Global, which is the radio station group that owns LBC, Carol Vorderman, James O'Brien, the news agents, led by Donkeys, Greenpeace, WWF, the UN, the US Embassy in London, Parliament, also The Rest is History, Gary Lineker and Hugh Grant. Grant isn't a Greenpeace acolyte. Press reform is his bag, which some of the Shill army promote. Now, that prompted a clearly rocked Vorderman to respond today, writing, busted by the Sherlock Holmes of today. A link between Alistair Campbell and Tony Blair. Wow, who knew? A link between me and James O'Brien, who I deputise for often on his show. I might stop laughing by the weekend. This is a parody account, right? She's rocked. She's rocked because she knows that Charlotte Gill is on her, and it is a delight to have Charlotte join me now on Outspoken. So, Charlotte, what is going on with Vorderman? Because she used to be a Tory fangirl. She would hang out with Boris Johnson and David Cameron and Matt Hancock. And all of a sudden, she's now had this transition to become the nastiest troll on the left. So what have you discovered?
Yeah, so first of all, delighted to join you, Dan, and thanks so much for having me on your show. Basically, it sounds ridiculous, but I had an epiphany one morning. I looked at something that Carol Vorderman was promoting, and it was something that I'd been digging around anyway. It's called the London Economic. I noticed it was putting out very anti-Tory, very similar content. And I'd found out that it's connected to the Politics Joe family. It's run by the same people. So that sort of played into me realizing, well, I think what I found, and you can see this is some of the materials from the London Economics showing that it crosses over with Politics Joe. Exactly the same chairman behind it, who's actually an oil and gas investor, which is pretty ironic because they whinge about renewables a lot. Well, they promote renewables and whinge about oil and gas a lot. But you can see they kind of, she's in their marketing sort of like, look, there's Carol. So this was the first little bit that I saw. And then what I worked out is that she's part of this thing called the Movement Forward. And you might have a picture of it, but
Yes, we've got that.
It's so basically we're meant to believe that Carol had this later life renaissance, as The Guardian put it, that one day she woke up and she just, she thought, I've always loved politics, like now's the time that I'm going to become a political expert. But she's actually part of this movement forward with lots of people that you might have seen on Twitter because they're actually just fairly annoying, But when you start looking, you realize that they are putting out sort of very similar content in different words. You know, it's almost like, oh, it's Nigel Farage Day. It's the day where everyone has a go at Nigel Farage. There's James O'Brien, you know. And I know, Dan, you've said on your show, right, that Carol, you don't get it because Carol's actually quite nice in real life, in your experience. But
That's
it's
the
all
shocking thing. This is not a woman who used to care about any of this. And actually, she used to be relatively polite. I worked with her because she would fill in for Lorraine Kelly when I was working on her show on ITV Daytime, before ITV went woke, by the way. And then when I was going through the absolute witch hunt against me that was led by a disgusting outfit called Byline Times, who do not do journalism, they do activism to try and bring down people who they hate with lies. And I won't go into it now, but that is provable. Especially, you only have to look at all of the allegations against me that were completely debunked. And she was a shill for them. She was retweeting everything. So was James O'Brien. So that's why I love the work that you're doing, because it's like, why are they all engaging in the same
that.
content?
It makes perfect sense. And the reason this picture of James O'Brien and Carol Vorderman is good is because it shows that the people that kind of come out of the global school of doing things, right? It's almost like they adopt a persona, you know, of being an arse, basically. Of, you know, everyone says, I hate that James O'Brien. He's so mean. You know, he's very aggressive. He's like always hounding people like, oh, you know. And then Carol is kind of like, yeah, I'm anti-Tory. And, you know, that she kind of took on this persona that you also see with Marina Purkis and to another extent, Jonathan Pye, because I actually believe there's a comedy wing of what I call Shill HQ. And they're all very aggressive. And actually, you know, the first clip of Carol Vorderman in the Best for Britain video, it's almost like, and I'm not saying that this is definitely what's happening, but it's almost like they're like, should we try Carol out, see if she works as an activist? And you get this much more tentative version of Carol Vorderman on political campaigning. And it's as if they said, can you ramp it up a bit, Carol? Like, can you be a bit more like James O'Brien, you know, who she deputizes for? And the fact that you were hounded by Byline Times, it makes complete sense now that I've been looking into this, because it all connects into this little ecosystem. And it's almost like you get these, so you get like an agenda basically, and it's being pumped out of these different media wings. And global is sort of, I mean, I want to be very careful what I'm saying, but global is pumping out an agenda that's discernible. And then you get the London Economic and Politics Joe, so that's one wing, one family. And then the Byline Times sort of promotes the Good Law Project and little things. It's actually, a lot of Byline Times relates to Leveson too, which is a whole new, I won't add that into the mix for now because it will just get way too confusing. But it's, you know, there are people, we all have enemies, but I mean, Dan, I know that you had it horrendously, but all they want to do is cut down people, you know, that
Who have a different view.
And actually, you know, yeah, like there are some politicians they've really come for. And I sometimes I've said to them, you know, it's actually a compliment because there are people that want Labour to stay in power, right? Because think about the things they're doing, you know, they're getting renewable energy policies through. Some people have shares in renewables, for instance. You know, there are people that would like Labour to stay because, you know, they've got a stake in something. And I'm not like saying anything directly, but I'm just giving you a sort of hypothetical example of why some people like Labour.
Well, what we know for sure is that this group in the media now hunt as a pack. And the mainstream media used to try and claim that they had no agenda, that there was no political agenda. I mean, a station like LBC under Global has gone from being the voice of the working classes, it used to be on in every black cab in London, to a hard left station. I've done a lot of work on this myself. That is undeniable. Sure, they keep Nick Ferrari and Ian Dale there, but Nick Ferrari and Ian Dale are very soft now. They have gone woke themselves because they know if they challenge the left-wing agenda too much, they're out. So James O'Brien effectively took control of that station when he staged a coup to get Nigel Farage sacked after the Black Lives Matter movement. And the station is now full of these horrendous people like Marina Purkis, Carol Vorderman, until she ended her contract, or had it ended, we're not sure. But there's all of the podcasts as well with total no marks like Gemma Forte, who was a shopping channel presenter and all of a sudden is now meant to be taken seriously as some sort of news commentator. So we know that's happened with Global. And the thing that's so interesting, Charlotte, and what you have been so good at pointing out, is that the issues and the people always align. So tactical voting is one. And now this week, we see it with assisted dying. And it's the same people who are pushing this propaganda: Carol Vorderman, James O'Brien, More in Common, and Paul Brand, who, by the way, is meant to be an Ofcom regulated journalist for Woke ITV, but is now part of the same circle because he also has a show at, you guessed it, LBC. But first, I love the holidays. It's my favourite time of year in loads of ways. But I don't know about you, I'm already finding it pretty demanding, going to all the events, the dinners, shopping, looking for the gifts, planning the day itself. So at this time of year, I tend to burn out quicker than the last, which I'm sure has something to do with the fact that I'm in my 40s now, I'm getting older. This year, though, I don't plan for that to happen because while getting older is inevitable, feeling older isn't. As we get older, our body's ability to create energy declines, but recent scientific discoveries have found we can actually increase our energy levels in our cells by taking something called NMN. Now, NMN has been shown to increase energy and endurance, activate our body's ability to burn fat, enhance mental function and health, improve blood pressure, regulate blood sugar levels, and support many other health markets. Finding high-quality pure NMN is hard, so I use Verso. They conduct third-party testing for each batch produced to guarantee you get what you pay for. It contains the highest quality NMN and other research-backed ingredients that have been shown to increase energy levels and slow down the aging process. I've taken this for some time. I feel like a younger version of myself. So many improvements, actually. More energy, enhanced endurance, improved cognition, fat loss, better sleep. And if I do get a cold like I did last week, I recover so much faster. So click the link in the description on YouTube and Rumble, or head on over to buy.ver.so and use the coupon code Outspoken at checkout to save 15% on your first order. I'll repeat that address for you: www.buy.ver.so/outspoken and use the coupon code Outspoken. But now, back to the show.
Yeah, it's just the assisted dying. I'll give you one example of something that I think really proves coordination. Right. There's been a lot about water, as in Thames water are bad, privatization bad. Let's put water into public ownership. And it's kind of hilarious because you have Gemma Fort, who also, so she's hired by Global. She also works for Byline TV. And she also, like Carol Vorderman, was part of something called I don't know if I can swear on the show. Can I?
Go ahead.
It's a hot as fuck campaign by Dale Vince, okay, and that was
who's
Dale
anything
Vince.
but hot as F.
He hired Saatchi and Saatchi and Gemma Fort and Carol Vorderman were like his, I don't know what business relationship there was, but they were his poster girls. And also Dale Vince is a funder for the Good Law Project, and Carol Vorderman fronted the Good Law Project's VIP files. And Dale Vince also talks about VIP files on BBC Newsnight. But anyway, sorry, I got a bit distracted there, but you see what I mean? It's all a bit blah, blah.
Yeah, it's connected.
But so the one thing that, so it doesn't matter what you think, right, about water. It's obviously not right, and no one likes Thames water very much. Just leave that aside, like everyone watching. But someone wants water put into public ownership. And so it's coming through in all of the global output. Like Gemma Fort and Marina Purkis have 2 shows out about water and sewage. And I'm like, these are glamorous women. I'm sorry, but I do not believe most women in general are like, oh, I'll do a show on sewage.
No, as I
And
say,
then
Gemma Forte was selling dodgy makeup on QVC up until this podcast. So, yeah, who's pulling her strings, I guess, is the question. And why?
And why? Who even wants to listen to that show? Who is tuning into these sewage shows? And another woman who has become incredibly interested in sewage and water issues is Carol Vorderman. And she was scheduled to go, and sorry, because I didn't send screenshots in advance of this book, but she was meant to go on this march for clean water.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
And it was with the Good Law Project. They were going. And the Good Law Project's funders were going. Greenpeace were going, who we'll talk about in a bit with Led by Donkeys. And Jenny Jones was going, who went to Carol Vorderman's book launch. And Chris Packham was there. But incidentally, Carol Vorderman was not there, even though, well, no one seemed to see her, even though she said it was going to be
So she'd been
first.
used to promote it and then didn't bother to turn up herself.
Yeah, it does look that way. She was like, see you here at 11 a.m. guys, sort of thing. And I said, because I was really interested in why Carol Vorderman was promoting this. And this campaign leads into Parliament, actually. So I was quite interested to see if she was there. And then it was sort of like, where's Wally? But like, where's Carol at the water protest? And one of the organisers said, I didn't see her. I have to keep an open mind. Maybe she was at the back and I just didn't see her. But it does look that way. No,
because she would have posted things. And look, I want to read actually something that you wrote, Charlotte, because it sums up the links and why we should be concerned about the links, because this one is in regards to Tony Blair. So you wrote, Tony Blair held a conference, a youth democracy conference with the charity My Life, My Say. The conference was hosted by John Sopel, who works for Global on the newsagents. John Sopel and his co-host Emily Maitlis promoted My Life, My Say's campaign for the youth vote. My Life, My Say advertised on the Outernet for the youth vote, an outdoor space owned by Global. Global hosts The Trawl with Marina Purkis and Gemma Forte. The Trawl used to be owned by Gary Lineker's podcast agency Goalhanger, where Alistair Campbell and Rory Stewart have a podcast. Campbell, who helped set up his charity My Life, My Say, Coburn is now Sadiq Khan's deputy mayor for the environment. Khan has a partnership with Global for its outdoor advertising space, the Outernet, as does the National Trust, which went on the March for Clean Water with Carol Vorderman, who works for LBC. Global. The National Trust was also on More in Common's stall at the Labour Party conference. More in Common, whose director was mentioned by Carol Vorderman in a tactical voting campaign and credited one of Led by Donkeys in its reports. More in Common's events were chaired by Emily Maitlis, who works for Global, whose advertising space Outernet is used by Led by Donkeys, who Carol Vorderman did a voiceover. Vorderman has also been part of an Outernet digital exhibition. So you see, it all links up. And while we have to be careful, Charlotte, we have to be careful. My question to you is, how much is Global being paid by these big boys to run some of these campaigns, and does that money filter down? But we don't know. They're a private company. It's not declared. But what does seem very obvious is that someone is profiting from this, and there's a reason for some of these left-wing figures to shill for these very odd enterprises. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.